G'day, ZiggyD here. Since the gold duping shenanigans in Diablo 3 have settled down now, I thought I might actually take the time to make a video to talk about how Diablo 3 has progressed or what's changed in the game over the past couple months. So in this particular video I'm going to be covering back to patch 1.0.7 and then the most recent patch 1.0.8. For those of you that haven't really been keeping an eye on the game but maybe might have an interest in going back and giving it a little bit of a play like I have over the past 2 days. Anyway, so both of these recent patches have mostly been focused on improving the diversity of ways that you can go about gearing up your character. After all, in action RPGs, the main part of the game is, finding the best gear for your character, trying to perfect your character, especially in Diablo 3, where you don't have this resetting ladders system and you're not really re-rolling ults all that much. It's a different direction for an action RPG, and some people might really like that, some people might really not, but I'll leave that argument or a discussion for another video. But definitely, without question, the main focus for a lot of people in playing Diablo 3 is either just farming because they find it enjoyable and therapeutic or something like that, or trying to perfect their gear on their character. So in patch 1.0.7, besides brawling PvP, which a lot of you guys have already seen, we had something else added, and that was improving the crafting system to actually make that not only viable but very lucrative as well. So basically this account-bound crafting system was added that allowed you to craft these powerful items. They were just basically rare items, no legendaries or anything like that, but they had higher potential for main stats on them, so either strength, dexterity, intelligence or vitality, depending on which recipe you picked. Basically, this meant that you would have to go out and farm elites to get these demonic essences which you would use in the crafting system, and these were also account bound, so it meant that it was quite difficult to people just to buy their way to the best crafted gear. They actually had to get out there and farm it, which I think is a pretty good move for the game. Overall, I usually don't feel so great about things like account bound and bind and equip and things like that in action RPGs. Seems more like an MMO sort of thing, but I think this was something that Diablo 3 needed. So as I said, you can farm up these items, and then you can also farm up the plans for the different recipes through getting 5 stacks of Nephilim Valor, playing on the highest months of power you can, and going and killing some bosses. So that was pretty awesome as well, if somewhat brief, because when that patch first came out, I had a lot of fun actually farming bosses again. It's been a long time since I actually fought a boss in Diablo 3, since all the best runs avoided bosses completely, since they were a bit of a time waste otherwise. But having a reason to go back and fight bosses was a lot of fun, at least for a while, but it didn't take too long for everyone to get the plans they needed. But if you haven't played Diablo 3 since then, it is fun to jump back in and go kill Gom a few times, or kill Belial a few times, or something like that, to farm up these plans. Now this, as I said, is about improving the diversity in ways that you can gear up your character. So not only now are you relying on drops or the auction house, you can actually craft your own gear, which is fantastic. And I still think the crafting system needs some improvements, but this was a big step forwards. And even I've crafted 2 items that replaced both a legendary and another rare that I had, and were both quite good as well, in only like a week or 2 of effort of trying to craft these things, very, very casually, a couple hours over here and there. So that was a lot of fun. Patch 1.0.8, which is the most recent one, decided to go back to the farming side of things and to actually improve that. Now, a big problem that a lot of people were having with Diablo 3, myself included, was that you pretty much had to farm Act 3 if you wanted to be anywhere near efficient. Acts 1 and 2 and 4 were pretty terrible in terms of mob density, at least in comparison to the different farming runs in Act 3. So patch 1.0.8's main focus was on improving the mod density in Acts 1, 2 and 4. Now Acts 1 and 2, from what I've seen so far, are fantastic. There's some awesome runs in Act 1, people were farming for a very long time, and then the footage you're seeing in the background is actually what's becoming a very popular farming run in Act 2 that's good for the demonic essences, the experience, and the legendaries as well. Just a huge improvement, and these areas are a lot more fun as well. It was awesome to jump back into Act 1 and go and beat on some skeletons when they're all cram-packed into these zones, whereas before, you were just fighting stragglers here and there in the occasional elite pack. Things are much, much more exciting in these zones now, and much more efficient. Back when I stopped playing Diablo 3 seriously, people were sort of pushing the 100 to 110 million experience per hour mark when they were trying to farm for power run levels. Now people are easily getting over 150, or even up as high as 200 million. I've even seen people breaking the 300 million mark through doing these efficient farming runs in these other zones as well. So I've seen people doing Act 1, people doing in Act 2, and still people can do it in Act 3 as well. So very exciting there as well. Combined with this change in 1.0.8, they also improved multiplayer play, like how lucrative it is, by decreasing the HP of enemies per character added into the game, whereas before it was like a 70% increase per extra player. Now it's toned back to about 50%, so mobs don't just take as long to die in multiplayer games, which means you can be a lot more efficient in general. And on top of that, there's now this strength in numbers buff, which increases, your magic find and gold find and all of that good stuff when you're in a multiplayer game. Now, this was in Diablo 2, obviously. You would make players 8 games so you could get the most amount of loot dropping, but loot was shared in Diablo 2. In Diablo 3, you have your own instance to loot, but you still get that bonus now in multiplayer games, just to make multiplayer much more fun and exciting to play. As you can see in the background footage, I did a run with one of my subscribers. I did a couple runs, and I actually found a legendary on one of these runs too, which was pretty good. A pair of Lacuni Prowlers, although they ended up being not so great. So overall, it's about improving the different ways that you can actually tackle what is Diablo 3 endgame, essentially. So now you can focus on just the Paragon leveling if you just want to do that, and to increase your magic find, gold find, and all that jazz, make a character slightly more powerful. You can still go farm for drops to actually upgrade your character. You can still farm for drops to sell on the auction house and buy things on the auction house. And you can also now farm those in Acts 1 and 2 more efficiently. I don't know about Act 4, but maybe some people will find some runs in there. And then on top of that, you can also instead go for this demonic essences sort of mini game. And you can also go and do your Hellfire rings from the previous patch 1.0.5, I believe it was. So overall, pretty good steps in the right direction for Diablo 3. Blizzard are very much taking a slow and steady approach to Diablo, I think. By the time we get the expansion pack, I think things might be pretty cooking, and jumping back into the game, it's actually still pretty fun stuff. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.